Okay, so to start, basically you just open up AutoCAD, which is through here, and then you just find AutoCAD, and which is kind of already open. So first, to start your drawing, you just click on that, and you'll end up with like an interface like this. Basically, this is where you'll be doing your drawing. You can do like lots of stuff like plans, which can be imported into different software later on. So basically, this top part here is called the ribbon. It has a whole bunch of tools, like your drawing tools, your layers and properties, and dimensioning and stuff. And there's just a whole bunch of other things here you can probably explore later. So this is your workspace, which is where you'll be doing the drawing. This alters your views. This is how you navigate around, so panning around your drawing once you have a drawing. This is your command line, so you can type in different commands in here. Why is my mouth? So like that, and it'll come up with your commands. And this is your access toolbar, quick access toolbar, which has things like object snapping, your annotation, whether or not you want to draw in ortho mode, which is everything's going to be in 90-degree angles, I guess. Yeah, so this is basically what you'll be dealing with throughout AutoCAD. So basically, AutoCAD works on commands. You can pretty much do any drawing without even using the cursor. You can just do everything via typing everything in. So commands can basically be done by just typing in whatever you want, so which I'll teach you what commands might be useful later on. But commands can be initiated through either here on the command line, and you can type in such things like layers or lines, or you can just be working in your space and just typing it straight away will automatically come up with like random things like this. So the first thing you'd probably want to know how to do is creating a line, because that's how you form your drawings. To create lines, you can either use these tools up here, which will create lines, or you can create lines by typing in the command L, and line will come up, which they can do the same thing but easier. So lines will form your drawing, and it's the most basic common object in AutoCAD. It can be disjointed like this, or it can be a series of lines that are connected by putting in polyline. Which is this, which makes this one whole object, whereas this one is a whole bunch of separate lines. If you want to make this into the same object as this, where everything's connected, you simply just go boundary, go OK, and then click the center of it, and then it'll become it'll become a connected object. You can also make shapes by typing in like rectangle, which will give you a rectangle from the start, or the circle, which will give you circle objects like this. So basically those are your key shapes in making a drawing. The next thing you'd want to know is the layers. This becomes one of your key way of organizing your drawings, because some things you'll need to have dimensions, sometimes you'll need like reference lines. It's kind of like the way you would work in Photoshop with layers. Some things you'd want to hide later on, so it'd be useful to work in layers. So if you see here, this is your layers area, and at the moment we're working on the base layer, which is 0. Wouldn't recommend working on this if you're going to have a whole bunch of layers, because this one is like your default. So the best way to do this is create a new layer first. Hold on. So, hold on. Oh. Okay, I can't see. Oh my god. So those are basically all the different things you can do with your layers. Trying to find the new layer. Yeah, this is really small. Okay, yeah, so this should be, yeah, so that's your new layer, found it in the end. Yeah, so you can like label it whatever you want. So if this is all reference lines, we'll just say that's reference. And so if you click this button, when you can see the tick, that means that's the one you're working in. Yeah, because you might be working in a different layer and that screws up your entire drawing. Yeah, and you can turn off and on the different layers. So if we make another layer and say this is the drawing layer. If we work in reference first, you can change the colors as well so that you don't get confused. So that's a different color now. And that's just by changing this section here. If you want to work in your drawing section, and your drawing layer, and let's just say that's a different color as well, you can turn them on and off. So if you don't want to have the reference lines, yeah, and you just want to see your drawing, then you have that. Yeah, so that's, and there's also things like changing the weight of your lines. So if you want them thicker or thinner, it's up to you really. And you can also change the transparency of the layer. So if you want them to be completely like half there, then I guess 50% will be what you do. So that's all you pretty much use in layers. That's basic. Yeah, and you can just keep making as many layers as you want, but working with them is the best way to deal with AutoCAD. So next I'm going to show you some tools on what you can actually do in AutoCAD. So one of the main things that might be useful is the thing called offset. So offset is triggered by the O command, and it's this one here. And this will be really useful for planners later on if you're doing, and like any plans, if you're doing walls or just anything that requires multiple lines from a distance, certain distance. So let's say we have this line. Okay, So if you have this line, and let's say this is the edge of your wall, but you want to have another end to make it a wall. So if you type in O and get offset, you can put in a distance that you want the next line to be away from it. So let's say 100, then you'd get it 100 meters away from the line. And you can keep doing that in any direction that you want. And it just keeps going. It's useful for stairs as well. Yeah, so that's basically the offset tool, and that's initiated by O. The next thing that's really useful is the trim and extend option. And so trim is basically, so if you have a bunch of lines, and let's say you want to get rid of all these lines that intersect this line. What you do is go TR, which is trim. You'd select this line first, which is kind of like your cutting tool. Press space bar, and then they're automatically gone. And for example, if you want just those, and you don't want these ends, you just click on them, and they're gone. There's the opposite of that tool, which is extend. So let's say you want these lines to extend to there. It's just simple as typing EX, clicking spacebar, then click on this, spacebar again, and then it'll extend to the line. So yeah, that's the main basic things about cutting your lines that might be useful. Next, I'll show you how you can use these buttons down here. They actually become really, really useful when you're drawing, especially if you're doing certain things like having 90-degree lines or making sure you want to have the middle of a line. So firstly, we'll start with this one. This is gonna trigger your grids. So if you don't want to work with it, then you just click on this over here. It looks like a grid, so it's pretty easy to find. And then you have dynamic input, which is, which is not on here. Some things that you can kind of change on here as well, like you can add certain toolbars on here. So I prefer to have most of them on. So dynamic input, the line weight, and units. Yeah. So make sure that you have what you need on this bottom part, because it'll definitely help you throughout your drawing. So dynamic input, which is already on, creates this like the box that comes up and helps you type in your dimensions and see what you're actually writing, basically. Ortho mode, which is this 90-degree looking thing. If you put that option on, whenever you make lines, it'll automatically snap to being 90 degrees. It won't let you do weird angles or whatever. So it's only useful for things that need to be 90 degrees. Polar tracking I don't really use, which is this thing here. It just specifies angles when you draw, so it'll be useful if you want to put weird angled lines everywhere. Object snap is also one of the main things you should keep on. So if you're drawing, it should like, hold on. Why aren't you? So with object snap, you can make it, you can change the settings to snap to certain points in a line. So if you want it to snap to the end of a line, then you can do that. You could do the midpoint, which is quite useful if you want to get the center, obviously. You can do intersections, which are useful for when you're doing section drawings and you project down lines from contours. Yeah, so there's just a whole bunch of things you can really do with it. So for now that we have, there should be things. Oh. It should get the middle, which it's not doing right now. But it should get the middle of a line, and then you can draw from there. But yeah, so it's meant to. Oh yeah, there. So you can see that that's the middle of that, and it snaps to the end of the line because you've put the settings to be that. And it takes the intersections of things as well. The next thing that's useful is the line weights. So when we were working with layers, you could, as you could see, you can change the line weight. But when you're drawing, you can choose whether or not you actually want to see the line weights or if you want to keep them just all the same. So if you want to keep them default, then you just turn that off. But if you want them to follow whatever you've put in here, then you click that on. So the next thing is the model or paper space. So model is what we're in now, and that's just working with the grid, and it's all like this. Whereas paper space shows you what it's going to look like when you print it. So that's only useful when you're about to go off. Why are you not going back? Oh my god. Let's just make a new drawing. Okay. But yeah, and there's also things such as 3D, but I wouldn't really recommend doing 3D drawings on AutoCAD. It's used for plans, basically, and then you can put them into other things for, like Rhino for 3D stuff. So other tools that might be useful is all initiated by commands. So the fillet tool, which is initiated by F. That's really useful in, so if you have a corner, so that's your corner, and you want to make that into a rounded edge, you can do fillet, click the down button, and you'll get radius, and you can change that to whatever radius you want the edge to be, the rounded edge to be. So let's just say 20. And can you kind of see it? It's quite small, but yeah, it's rounded. The next thing is called hatch, and that just makes it easier for you to distinguish different, if you want to change one thing to be concrete in your drawing or something to be grass, then it's usually just used for your own benefit, I guess, just to make sure that you know what's what. So if we say we'll make a box or a shape, and that's all bounded, and if you initiate H for hatch and you click the center of it, it'll give you hatching, which can be changed through up here. Like they've got endless ones, you can have brick. Yeah, that's basically what that's there for. There's other things like duplicating. So that's initiated by, it's different. Well, it's copy or duplicate, but depends on what you're working with. So on Windows, it's copy, but in Mac, it's duplicate. But yeah, so copy is pretty much what the name says. And if you highlight all of that and you want to copy it, then you can just keep making endless copies of the same thing. So for stairs, especially, you can just keep copy pasting the same stairs if you have the same layout. And we'll delete those. And let's say you want to mirror this thing. So like, yeah, stairs are probably the only example I can think of right now. So if you want the same layout, but you want to switch it around, then you can just go MI, which is mirror. So you select the objects by highlighting it, press space bar, and it'll mirror depending on what direction you want it to be. So you can either choose to delete it completely or keep it. So if you erased it, then the other one will be gone. There's also rotate, which is RO. If you highlight it again, and you can keep moving it around, but you won't have the original one there. Yeah, so that's basically the tools. You can kind of play around with random letters, random commands will come up, and you can play around with what works for you. AutoCAD is basically a matter of just trialing and erroring. So yeah, like if you press A, most times you'll get all these weird, funny commands, and some of them will be useful, but some of them might not. But you can always Google the commands, and they'll come up with like a sheet of all of the relevant ones that people use most often, rather than just aimlessly picking letters in the keyboard. Yeah, so once you're done, so let's say this is your final drawing. Oh yeah, and you can do that with your hatching. You can move it, and it's still doing it. Okay. Let's say this is your final drawing. This is your plan that you want to save and work on for later. So for saving it, it's as simple as most things. It's just save as, and then wherever you want to save it and whatever you want to name it, wherever you want to put it. Yeah, so that's pretty straightforward, I'm guessing. But saving will always be either DWG, but you can also save it as DWF, but the main one is DWG. So if you're thinking of printing it, it's a bit weird with AutoCAD. You have to do a lot of conversion. So once you're finished with your drawing, chances are you're working in like meters. Well, yeah, so, you can also measure, by the way. So let's say if you measure that, so that's technically like 1,557 meters on your drawing. If you want to print it or move it to like Illustrator for like further editing, you'd have to convert this all into millimeters first, which is the process is quite tedious and a bit long and hard to follow, but it's really useful, and you need to make sure that you do know the steps. So I'll try and go really slowly, because this took me a long time to get through when I first did AutoCAD. So first, so this is in meters, right? So to convert this into millimeters, you just go SC, which is scale, and then you select the object, and then it'll come up with specify base point, so you can just take any place. And when it says specify scale factor, you'd enter 1,000, because millimeters, 2 meters. And you'll find that half the drawing is like not there. So you do zoom, which is Z. and then you'd put E for extent, and it should come up on your screen. You can zoom out and stuff. And so now this should be in millimeters now. So it's been scaled up to 1 by 1,000 meters, or 1,000 millimeters. Yeah, so once you've got this, you can transfer it onto different software like Illustrator or SketchUp. So, but to do that, you need to save it in the right way, I guess. But because DWGs are already vectors, you can, or they work, DWG files work in Illustrator. So first, hold on. Okay, so you can save this as a normal DWG file. So let's just say we're saving this on desktop as drawing 2. And if you open Illustrator, if it's gonna open. Hold on. Okay, this isn't. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I saved that drawing from AutoCAD as drawing 2. If you just drag that into, okay, hold on, file, and then why is this not working? Oh yeah, that's probably why. Yeah. My God. Oh, wait. Where? This one? Okay, let's try this. Didn't think this through. Okay, wait. I completely skipped that step in my thing. Okay, yeah, what he said. So first save this as file. We'll save as this one here. And if you go back to this, let's just close this. Okay, there we go. This is what you need to, this should come up when you put in the drawing. So for this, you need to have original size. And then this will determine your scale. So let's say if you want this at a scale of 1 to 2,000 or 1 to 100, you'd have this as the, so let's say 1 to 2,000. This would be 2,000, and you'd keep this as 1. Make sure that this is in millimeters. And yeah, you can choose to scale your line weights, but I'd recommend not to. because you're going to be editing them in Illustrator anyway. Make sure center artwork is also clicked. But yeah, let's say 1 to 1000. I don't know what this is going to come up with. Why is it not showing? Oh my god. It should come up. Why is it not working? Huh?
Teach them how to plot it.
No, that's what it says. Yeah, so this is like the one that kind of screws up all the time. But this is meant to work.
Okay, check it.
Go.
Oh shit. Was this file?
Yeah. This is odd. Unless an then if you go,
Oh, is it? What did you last time?
I did like 1 to 1000. It's not that one. It's that one.
What?
It's that one.
1000?
Yeah. Technical difficulties. Unless I need to make the scale. Just go 1 to 100.
On 100?
Yeah, try that. I don't know that's gonna work. Maybe it's the line weights in Illustrator and AutoCAD.
What's this right now? What scale is this?
But I.
Teach them how to plot then.
Okay, might as well do this thing.
You can teach them how to plot then.
Okay. So that was meant to work, but it didn't. We'll teach you how to print and create the PDF file anyway. So that can be dragged into Illustrator anyway as well, like as a PDF, and you can edit the PDF and the line work and stuff. So basically, you just in the interface just press P for plot, and that will initiate this window. So you'll come up with this, and hold on. So if you want to plot your drawing that you made, you'd press Window, and that would create that box around. You can create it around your drawing. So here, if you want to create a PDF, just go down and find Adobe PDF. For scale, so depending on what you want your drawing to be at, don't press fit to paper or else it'll be a weird scale. This is where you'd play around with what scale you'd want it to be at. So if you wanted it to be at 1 to, let's say, 6,000 or something, then that's what you'd have in there. Or similarly, if you wanted it at 1 to 500, you'd have that. And this determines your paper size. If you wanted it A3, your PDF to be A3 or A4. And you'd want it to be in the center, so press center the plot. Yeah, and make sure that plot object line weights come up so that you can actually see lines. And just press OK. my god, why is this not working? Well, it should have a drawing on here as well. If you have this drawing, then you can put that into Illustrator and edit that.